for the weekly wham. I talked about it before in the tools that we use. Notion is pretty much the all-in-one tool that I'm using to bring everything together, something I can work on, including my personal and professional lives, making sure I'm hitting every goal of the week for the day, whatever. And so I want to say this because I was thinking about it over the week and recognize is that I wanted to go over my 10-year aspiration every week just to kind of keep it fresh, to keep my focus, to kind of keep me devoted to what it is that I'm trying to do and stay on track. And now look at that. Here we go. Week 5, which is the week that and I'm going to be honest, I'm okay with that because, I have been editing what my scorecard is going to look like from the first week. As you can see, it was pretty robust. The toggles had toggles, the toggle, and all the things like that. And then I got into week 2 and did some edits in that. And so then even in week 3, same thing. Week 5, I was still editing and working on what it's going to look like. And so I don't have anything scored. So week 5 is a 0 overall, even though it's been very beneficial for me to kind of focus on the edits. So that's it. That's week 5, no score. So that's that. So that's what we'll be doing. We will definitely plan our week and we will score our week. You can plan a week before you do your the wham. You can score your week before you participate in the wham, but you definitely want to have that type of information already done when you're in the wham or doing it while in the wham. So here we go. Here's the agenda. Individual report. I'm going to call that the IRO. So the individual report is just going to show you the results of your scoring, and the results meaning, were you able to keep up with it? Do you find that you need to make some changes? Something I learned last week was that when I'm scheduling my content, right, when I'm doing a content calendar, I can't just put on the calendar, post a YouTube channel, post a YouTube video. I can't put on the calendar, upload the blog. I had to break down what each of those tasks looks like. And so creating a blog it requires me to spend about 3 to 5 hours a month in being able to post the blog. So I had to schedule, and I'm beginning to schedule that out for myself so that when I'm doing my schedule, doing my content calendar, I'm actually getting the work done and not just plotting it. And then it never happens because I don't even have it in like my daily. So if creating a blog is the goal for this week, I already know that I need to allot for 2 to 5 hours this month to get the blogs posted, right? And so I'm going to create that throughout the week. And so maybe Tuesdays, every second and third Tuesday will be the time that I'm spending on creating the blog. And that can be about 45 minutes each, 90 minutes each, and then be ready to post it on the day that it's scheduled. So scoring, tracking is definitely helping me already in the few weeks to really lock in on how to get things done, because I recognize part of my sabotage and part of my procrastination was just having no plan of execution. So that's definitely something that I've learned in these few weeks that the 12-week year has pretty much shown me as I've been working on it on a weekly basis. So, yeah, that's that. So, and I'm going to be talking about taxes. Okay, let me just let that sink in. Okay, all right. So now that you've kind of gasped and all the things, you may be asking, why are we talking about taxes, Tracy? Are you a tax professional? Like, is that your business or something like that? The answer is yes and no. Knowing and talking about taxes is everybody's business because, if you are a business owner, even when you're filing your personal taxes, I don't care who does your taxes, you are still responsible for that because you sign at the bottom. So, now I will say that my time working for the Department of Treasury has definitely given me the inside, behind the scene, draw the curtain back a little bit of how taxes are, reviewed and audited and all the things like that. But forget about any of that. It's important to, be familiar with your taxes, even if you do hire somebody else to do your tax. So I just want to go over really quickly, the tax. So you are going to be filing federal taxes, of course, which we're all familiar with. You are going to file your state taxes if that's a requirement in your state. And then you're going to do your local taxes. So depending on your municipality will determine if you how you will file. Some municipalities require you to just have a business number, and you just pay for like the business activity number, or like we call it a commercial activity number. That's what the city of Philadelphia calls it. But it's free to get the commercial activity license. They get their money in a different way, which is the tax, right? The way that we file taxes for the city. So depending on where you are located, depending on where you're going to do business, because some people may live in one municipality but do business in another municipality. So you have to consider those things as well, because you may have a requirement to file both municipalities or just one, or whatever the case may be. So these are the kind of things that you want to think about. And I think it gets missed when you are a solopreneur, entrepreneur, very small business, micro business, or whatever, on the importance of filing taxes, or getting prepared for running a business in that municipality. So that's really what I'm going to be talking about, is the city taxes. I am going to talk a very little about the other taxes, but the city taxes, especially for Philadelphia, are where I'm going to kind of get my meat and potatoes for that. So Fed-wise, the taxes are due April the 15th, unless you have established yourself to have some other type of fiscal year. But that's something you would talk about with your tax professional, or if you are familiar, you would just create your own date of when it is to file. But you would have established that with the IRS. So if you have not done that, then your taxes are going to be due the 15th of April. And that's usually all of the tax, federal, state, the city as well. And I will say that if you need to file an extension, you only need to file it for the federal level, and that will be sufficient for the state and for the city as well. And you can just show proof of that if they ever come back to say, hey, why did you file this late, or whatever the case may be. The one thing I can say is that an extension to file is not an extension to pay. So even if you get your extension to file, you still have to pay your taxes by April the 15th. So if you owe $2,000, you file an extension and you're like, I don't have the money to pay the $2,000. Even if you paid $500 by the due date, you're not going to be, the interest and penalties won't be accrued on the money that was paid by the due date. Anything after the due date, that's what's going to accrue interest. So this is why it's a pay as you go. They want you to pay ahead of time. So if you have to do estimated payments and different things like that, again, this is just something to think about as you're running your business. So that's on the federal level. The state level, a lot of the same information that you're using for the federal level is going to be submitted into the state. So it's pretty much all in one. Even if you're doing your own taxes, like even TurboTax, they will offer to do your state tax, and it can include your business information. So don't feel like, oh my God, I have to do something totally separate. You don't. You can genuinely just file taxes, your business tax with your personal tax, without even having an EIN number, right? But we'll get into the EIN number and why it is important, but you don't necessarily have to have it in order to starting your business and even filing taxes for your business, right? Okay, so that's on a federal level. So like I said, federal, state, and local. The state and the local genuinely follows the feds. So even if they're like, I know in some states, some cities, you may be a part of some sort of disaster, a natural disaster, and the federal may deem your town going through an emergency, and taxes may be extended. Instead of being due April the 15th, they may be due October the 15th, and that's blanketed for the entire area. So if that's the case, then usually your state and your city or municipality will follow suit, and you really don't have to do much of anything or go onto the federal website find out what the requirements are and make sure you have that so you can then just show proof of that to your state and your city. Okay. So, the local. So for the city of Philadelphia, this is where you will go to begin getting registered. Hold on one moment. So you're going to go here. It's the Philadelphia Tax Center. That's not the website. The website is tax-services. .phila.gov. But if you just type in Philadelphia Tax Services, Philadelphia Tax Services or the Philadelphia Tax Center, you can Google either one of those interchangeably and the link will pop up. So here is the tax center. And so this is what it looks like. So if you are looking to apply for your commercial, so you can do everything online, or you can go into the MSB building down on JFK, 15th and JFK, to apply, and they will help you with that as well. And again, all you need is your social security number. You don't need an EIN number to necessarily get and whatever. They send you letters via, they'll mail you letters also, but they'll send you letters through the app and all the things. The one thing I will say is that with the Philadelphia Tax Center, it only takes about 24 to 48 hours for your tax returns to upload. So if you are filing your taxes, and which I encourage you to do because it is tax time, these taxes are due on April the 15th, then you can go in and it'll be uploaded, and like I said, and posted and processed and all the things in about 24 to 48, no more than 72 hours. So unlike the feds, it can take, 21 days for that return to file and all the things like that. Right. So there are other taxes that you may have to file with the city. The city has like over, I don't even remember the number, but it's a lot of taxes. So depending on your business will determine what other types of tax you may have to file and then pay. Sometimes, it may be zero, but you file and you pay. So that's how you would do that. And then taxes are due on the 15th. Some other taxes are due at different times. But again, this is where it is very important for when you are looking for a tax professional as a business owner, that your tax professional is very versed in city of Philadelphia taxes. Not every tax professional is. Some of them are only versed on the federal and the state level. So if you start asking questions, make sure when you are interviewing your potential tax professional that you have questions about working with city taxes. If they cannot answer these questions, you need to find somebody else. And I mean that because the city doesn't play. They are a lot stricter, mainly because they can pull licensing on the city level. And so now you are no longer doing business in the city of Philadelphia. Or if you get caught doing business and all of these things have happened, you're going to get hit with a different kind of fine. And you don't even have to do all of that. You just have to find a professional or file your own taxes. So I did want to share that I did get a letter, and I thought I brought the letter with me, but I got a letter in the mail letting me know from the city of Philadelphia. So the business income and receipts, that's what it's called, business income and receipts tax, which is usually called the BERT tax, used to have a caveat where if your business made under $100,000 in profit for the year, or maybe I don't know if it's profit. It has to be profit. But if you made under $100,000, let's just say if you made under $100,000 income, let's just say that. I don't care if it's profit or not. But if you made under $100,000 in your business, you file your tax, but there would be no tax liability. This is how it has been for probably the last 10, maybe 15 years, because I do know it was a new exemption. Well, as of 2025, they have gotten rid of that. So no matter what your profit, income, whatever it was for the business, you will have a responsibility to pay. So whatever that interest rate is at the time for the year, let's see what the interest rate is for the bird tax. Here it even says on the website, Philly's tax structure is changing, including how you file and pay. You cannot claim $100,000 statutory BERT exemption anymore. So that lets you know that whatever income you made, you are going to have to pay tax on and this is the what's left over. So it is the profit potentially, right? So even if you made $1 million, but you've only profited, I believe that's what it is. Yeah. So even if you've only made, at the end of the day, you made $100, then that's the tax amount you would be paying. So you don't have to pay on the income, it's on what's left over. I believe that is how it works, because it is very much so like the tax for the federal level. But this is the information. You can go to the City of Philadelphia's website and go to services, and then get a lot of information on business tax, even property taxes and different things like that if you are a homeowner. So yeah, I just wanted to pretty much share that information with you guys, because I think it's very important to just be familiar. I'm not telling you to do your own taxes, even though I think it's something you should pretty much, 6 more months to do that. So yeah, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you on the next wham, and we will plan the week and score the week next week, and then whatever else week 4 needs to be for any of us, just let me know. All right, you guys, I will see you guys on the next video. Have a good one.